So AAU, or Amateur Athletic Union, is what it sounds like. Amateur basketball leagues that people play in. Started as a non-profit back in 1888, and it was just something people would do for fun, competitive hoops, but has slowly shifted into hurting us and the league for multiple reasons, like short-term success or putting too many miles on players' bodies, also not teaching fundamentals but focusing on star power and monetary value. There are many reasons why AAU is a problem, so let's get into them.
You've been pretty critical of the AAU system and the way American players are brought up.
Not pretty critical. I'm extremely critical. I hate it. Because it doesn't teach our players how to play the right way. How to think the game, how to play in combinations of threes. And I think everything is it's a reward system. I think coaches who are teaching the game are getting rewarded one fashion or another. And it's just a showcase.
Do you feel like
it's absolutely horrible for the game.
The young guys that are coming up, do you feel like the game is kind of stiff, whereas when you're...
Overemphasis on winning. AAU basketball often prioritizes winning over player development. This can result in coaches focusing more on short-term success rather than helping players develop fundamental skills or teaching them important aspects of the game, like teamwork and basketball IQ. Unlike European ball, in which they teach substance over flash. Look at a player like Luka, how he uses space and angles to beat you. He isn't athletic, he isn't blowing past people, he isn't jumping out the gym, but he's using his spacing and high IQ to score points. Number 2, burnout and overuse injuries. Many young players compete in multiple tournaments and travel extensively throughout the year. Grueling schedule can lead to physical and mental burnout, as well as the increased risk of overuse injuries. Young athletes might play more games than they can handle, which can be detrimental to their long-term health and development. Add on to this that these players are also playing high school games as well, so they are playing more games than they are practicing. Look at some stars that are injured. Most of them played the AAU and lots of games. Another problem is lack of supervision and poor coaching. Because AAU programs are often unregulated and involve a wide variety of coaches with different levels of experience, the quality of coaching can be inconsistent. Some coaches are more focused on their own personal gain, getting players to the next level for financial reasons or to build their own reputation, or developing their own kids rather than developing well-rounded players. These players are young and need to grow and learn fundamentals, but instead they aren't being taught how to be efficient, how to play as a team, how to play leverage defense, just how to score highlights. Another reason is commercialization and exploitation. AAU basketball has become a big business. Some programs charge hefty fees, and there is often a pay-to-play model, which can exclude talented players from lower income backgrounds. The focus on exposure, endorsements, and recruiting can lead to a more exploitative environment than one focused purely on youth development, which leads to coaches looking at how can I maximize profits and look at the short term and hurt players by not preparing them for the long term and teaching them skills. Also, pressure and unrealistic expectations. Many young players and their families feel intense pressure to succeed and to be noticed by scouts or college recruiters. This can create an unhealthy focus on individual performance rather than personal growth or teamwork. The stress of constant competition can have negative effects on mental health and overall enjoyment of the game, in which, because teams are looking at the short term, they have to show up and have highlights which leads to them not being a good teammate. They also have to deal with some high school basketball and some media. Speaking of high school ball, some cases AAU basketball takes players away from the high school teams, which weakens the traditional school basketball programs. The overlap between AAU season and high school seasons can also disrupt team chemistry and cause players to juggle competing commitments, leading to a disjointed experience for both the player and the team. There are also talent pool imbalances. Highly competitive nature AAU basketball can create an environment where only the most physically gifted players rise to the top, often leaving behind those who may need more development or are more rounded in their skill set, but lack the physical attributes that scouts tend to prioritize. And lastly, corruption and scandals. The popularity and financial incentives of AAU basketball have occasionally led to scandals, including the influence of shoe companies, bribery, and other forms of corruption. This can distort the recruitment process and create an environment that favors certain players or programs over others. While AAU basketball can offer exposure and opportunities for players, these factors have made many question whether the system is truly beneficial for the development of young athletes. The issue mentioned above have led to some call for reforms or alternatives that prioritize athlete development over commercialization.
I hate it. Because there's a lot of coaches that exploiting these kids to try to get a payoff one day. It's good in some sense, but a lot of these AAU coaches are in it for themselves. I know for a fact from my son playing on the AAU team, my ex-wife kind of got mad at me because I cursed the coach out because he was just in it to try to make his son better, and his son pretty much was the...
AAU It hurts more than it helps. For some players, it can be a great opportunity to develop their skills, compete at a high level, and get exposure to college recruiters. However, the system is flawed in many ways. If a player's experience is centered around exploitation, burnt out, or negative pressure, it can be harmful. Ultimately, the value of AAU basketball depends on the specific program, the attitude of the coaches, and the approach taken by players and their families. It's essential to balance the competitive aspects with long-term player development, mental health, and enjoyment of the game. If you approach AAU with the right mindset and choose a program that aligns with your goals and values, it can be a great way to grow as a player. But if the focus becomes solely on getting recruited or winning, it can have negative consequences. But sadly, most of the time it's just seen as a cash grab or a quick way to boost a player's recognition instead of teaching them valuable skills. Speaking of value, the NBA needed to add value to its regular season product, so they came up with the NBA Cup, an in-season tournament for players to compete in and show competitive nature. If you want to check out a video why that was a success, go check out the description.